So, ladies and gentlemen, it's finally happened. A live stream on X between Elon Musk and Donald J. Trump. Oh, yes, we got a new bus now. It's Donald. It's the Donald, guys. I'm going to talk about him in a second. Last night was a historic night on X and a massive victory for social media and new media. The whole of the mainstream corporate media had a bit of a meltdown. But we have basically, I'm going to show you the highlights, the best parts of the conversation between Trump and Musk, because it's over an hour. Obviously, feel free to listen to the whole thing in full, but if you don't have time, we're going to basically give you those to get the collection, the best parts of it. But let's look at the stats. X actually posted, the official account, between 7:47 p.m. and 10:47 p.m., obviously Eastern time, President Donald Trump's space post received 73 million views. During the same period, there were 4 million posts about Elon Musk and President Trump's conversation on X, generating a total of 998 million views. Now, before the whole thing started, there were a number of hacks and attacks on X. They were trying to bring down the servers, the whole conversation. Luckily, after a bit of a delay, I think it was a 40-minute delay, they managed to fix this. Now, before we get to the actual point, and we have a statement from Kamala Harris as well. That's going to be kind of funny. If you're wondering where I got this from, I didn't make this. Oh no, I'm not that smart. This is actually a bit. I want to give a big shout out to a small British business. We always give shout outs. It's not a sponsorship. I'm not getting anything out of it. It's a company and a website called Bustards, like retards or bastards. Yeah, bastards. Bastards.co.uk. I'm going to put the link in the description. They've just started and they have a massive collection of obviously all the merchandise, t-shirts. You can see Elon Musk's bust also coming soon, and Trump and everybody else. Check it out. The link is in the description. But before we get to the best part, which is the videos that we have from the live stream, the conversation, Kamala Harris and Walz says. They said, right now Elon Musk is interviewing Donald Trump live on Twitter. We are not calling it X. They're obsessed with the word Twitter. It's not enough that Musk has pledged to donate millions of dollars to help re-elect Trump, as if it's a bad thing. He can do whatever he wants. He's using his purchase platform, one of the largest social media sites in the world, to spread Trump's unhinged and hateful agenda. For the record, X has become huge now because of Elon. When it was Twitter, nobody was using it anymore. It was going down because it was completely boring and full of censorship. Anyway, she says, otherwise, let us remind you why this is a big deal. The richest person in the world is a lackey for Team MAGA. Musk already ruined Twitter, made it better by the way, by allowing hate speech and disinformation to flood the platform. Now Musk is using his vast fortune and broad reach to try to control our democracy. Under Elon Musk, X now has community notes and essentially fact-checking to tackle disinformation and misinformation. Now, let's go to the conversation, the highlights of the conversation between Elon and the Donald.
We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people. And it's an honor. We view that as an honor. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at, some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full. And you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down. And it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see, and
Yeah.
and a lot of press too. There was, many cameras on watching this. It's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have all these cameras shooting it. So,
Yeah.
sort of amazing. But one of the interesting things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I mean, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear,
Yeah.
and because it hit very hard, but hit the ear. And I also heard people shout, "Bullets, bullets!" Get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down. So I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle. So that was the miracle. That was
Yeah.
for those
Split
people that
second.
don't believe in God. I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to. I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually.
But he totally would have hit if you hadn't turned your head. So like there was it was a very near
It
thing.
was a
So
miracle. If I hadn't turned my head,
yeah,
I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly.
I would not.
Yeah.
I would
Well,
not be talking to you.
maybe talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right. We'd be talking from a
so
different place. But it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good.
well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration
Right.
slide. Maybe this,
That's right.
maybe this is worth talking about that,
It
since
was. It was.
that slide
You're
saved your
right.
life,
No,
basically.
the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but I
I
had to
know
be at
that's
that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. Saved by illegal
You know,
immigration.
the incredible
100%.
thing, though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle.
Like what I find admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual, or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And
Well,
yeah, so
thank you very
yeah,
much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up, and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people know. I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me, and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up, and they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher, and I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else
yeah,
because it was such a lot of blood, and they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, "Sir, you were hit in more than the ear." I said, "Nope, I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up." And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think, and I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them
yeah,
know that, and they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I
yeah,
got up because they didn't know, was I alive. You really couldn't tell when I stood up before the hand, before the fist in the air. Uh, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did, and when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled, and the place went crazy. It was pretty amazing.
yeah.
It was a
Well,
terrible thing, but it
it was
was really nice.
incredibly moving. Yeah.
Elon, the chart was just a chart that in my last week we had the best illegal immigration numbers, meaning stopping. It was at the lowest. You've seen the chart. It's become quite a famous
Yeah,
chart,
yeah,
but that was the lowest
yeah,
point ever recorded. It was a really, I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe. You see what happened. They just let it go. I had remain in Mexico policies. I had all these different policies that was so good. Uh, guys like Tom Holman and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. All these are all people that they've been on television. They says the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks, catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where if people, many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have a contagious disease, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting
Yeah,
literally records, and I all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes,
sure.
and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that, but they were fantastic numbers. But I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important.
What were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted with a
Well, I was
bullet?
going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler, and we're going to go
Great.
back in October. We're all set up, and the people are fantastic in Butler. It's a great area. Great. These are incredible people. Like the three that, in the case of Corey killed, and the other two, the families are. I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler. And I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying,
As you were
prior to
saying,
being
exactly.
so horribly
So,
interrupted.
yeah,
But
yeah. So rudely interrupted by an
yeah,
assassination
so I was
attempt.
making a speech and there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible, and I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake, and she's in charge of it because now she's trying to say she
Sure.
had nothing to do with it, and she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I
Right.
guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
had nothing to do with the problem
Yeah.
is. But she was
Well.
the
Well.
border czar, and people
Yeah. Yeah.
can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known
Yeah.
what happened. You could shut the border down; he
Yeah.
wouldn't even know the difference. But uh, the fact is that she was border czar. But if you don't have to call her
Yes.
that, the fact is you could just call her. She was in charge of the border, and the border was the worst
Right.
ever. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this too. You hear 12
Yeah.
million, 13. I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country,
Yeah.
many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is
Yeah.
insane asylums, and many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're
Yeah.
coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are uh, stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at it's so sad October 7th because it should have never happened.
Yeah.
It's so sad when
Sure.
you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective
Yeah.
government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they
Yeah.
won't do anything. It's all talk. She's
No.
incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something because he's not too good. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. but that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this: we cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a
It's
different. Look,
yeah.
she hasn't done an
I mean,
interview since this
yeah,
whole scam started. And say what you want. This
yeah,
was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said we can do it the nice
yeah.
way or we can do it the
No,
hard way.
yeah. No, I mean, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
Oh, what they did
Biden.
with this guy,
So
and I'm no
yeah.
fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history.
I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country
You don't have
left
a country
at that
left.
point.
Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. You know, we think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, you know, the four. But it's not that, it's everywhere. They're coming in from
Yeah,
everywhere. And I had to stay in
yeah, I think
Mexico.
this is a super important
Yeah.
point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico. To be
No,
clear,
Mexico
it's
less,
it's just it's just
less
it's
than
just the
the others.
border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything in the
We're
U.S.
already
So
overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York. New York, and I love that place, and what they're doing to it is horrible. Affected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. You know, I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest, I think, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say,
yeah,
I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No, he actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to
yeah.
fund, and this pathetic president gets in there, and the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers, shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow.
Yeah.
I allowed it in my first week because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline, the Keystone XL pipeline. He
Yeah.
shuts that down and he approves the Russian pipeline,
Yeah, it doesn't make any
right?
sense. It's like it's inconsistent.
All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. You know, when I was there, and I say it with respect because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States. And I meant it. And they said, we'll
Yeah,
pass.
yeah,
They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually, especially when you look at what's happened to our country. Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no
Yeah,
money
yeah,
and Israel would have never been attacked. Zero chance. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and all the different things,
yeah.
but all of a sudden I
Those
got a
some
call.
those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they
Those
were
were
no,
like
they were epic
absolutely.
everything. He said that he has a
And-
red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him Little
yeah,
Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, he
I think people underrate the risk of World War III, and it's just when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity, and that's it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from other
100%.
countries.
And one of the things
And
we're going to do is
it's
we're going to
yeah,
build an iron dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best iron dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an iron dome? Israel has one. Some other places
yeah,
have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel has it. We're going to have an iron dome. I always
yeah,
say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are and controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I don't. I really don't want to give them the credit. But we have some really bad, and I say they're more dangerous than Russia and China. If you have a smart president, a president that gets it, we are not in danger from those countries because they need us and they need our help. I mean, we forced Obama. If you think about it, Obama and Biden and Bush, to a certain extent, in all fairness, forced Russia and China together. And if you're a history student, the first thing you learn is you cannot let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran and they have North Korea. They call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest threat.
yeah,
The biggest threat is not global warming, where the ocean's going to rise one eighth of an inch over the next 400 years. And you'll have more oceanfront property, right? The biggest threat is not that. The biggest threat is nuclear warming, because we have 5 countries
well,
now that
yeah,
have significant nuclear power, and we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it
yeah,
doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using
yeah.
all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing
Right.
that's happening, and we'll end that
Well, I think
quickly.
a lot of
We have to bring energy
yeah,
prices down. Energy started it. The price of gasoline. Now your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good and you do make a great product. I have to say, I have to be honest with you.
thank
That
you.
doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the
Thank you.
gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has
Sure.
to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to
Yeah,
drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable, wind and different things. You're not going to have anything.
yeah,
And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say
yeah,
that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot of energy if our country will be competitive with China, because that's our primary competitor for this on the AI. You're going
sure.
to need a lot of
Well, I mean,
electricity. You're going to need tremendous
yeah,
electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Um,
Right?
in the like in the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have phenomenal reserves of everything, oil, everything, and it should be prosperous. But if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people, and so I think we should not be complacent in the United States and thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if with bad government policy we can run the country into the ground, and that's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education. So we're ranked at the bottom of every list of the top 40. We're ranked number 40, number 38. Uh, Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7, but we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts. I want to close up Department of Education, move education back to the states,
Yeah,
where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. He he's terrible. He does a terrible job. So he's not going to do great with education. But of the
yeah,
50, I would bet that 35 would do great, and 15 of
yeah,
them, or 20 of them will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of
yeah.
these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well run. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I say, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation.
I mean, he's clearly like we just don't have a president right
You
now.
don't
That's
have a
just obviously the
president, and
case.
she's going to be worse than him,
Um,
because she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is, well, you know better than I do. You just left California for a lot of those reasons. And what she's done with crime, with cashless bail, where you kill somebody. I mean, we have states now, you kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our
yeah,
country is becoming a very dangerous place. And she is a radical left San Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump.
lawfare. I think
Well,
we need to be concerned about.
what they've done to
Um,
this country.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we just won the big
I mean,
case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals, like Fani, Fani, spelled
yeah,
Fani, Fani, and it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, the one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before,
Sure.
and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare.
Yeah,
It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never
yeah,
happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up, because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens
yeah,
is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion.
People in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the
It's
future is
true.
going to be better than the past, and that America is going to do things that are greater than we've done in the past, reach
Right.
new heights that make you proud to be an American, and excited about the future. Um,
They want the
I
American
think
dream
this.
back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. You know, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was
Yeah, it was just absurd. I
her
think
running
that.
mate approved, signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
all
that's
I have
weird.
to hear. Tampons in
That's
boys'
weird.
bathrooms. And that means she
Yeah,
believes in that too. I mean,
yeah, that's
she
not
picked this
okay.
guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite, but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person. But she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as the president, I don't think our country can survive.
Really big
Well,
deal.
Elon, just
So
getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs in the world. We really do. And but people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved
yeah,
where you can
yeah,
you basically you look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability, the country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get sued. These are people terminally ill. The insurance companies didn't want it, and the pharmaceutical companies, nobody wanted it. I got everybody into a room and we came up with an agreement that you won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record. If somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking a drug, they didn't want that on their record. So we set a separate list. If somebody was, so it wouldn't count as a negative.
yeah,
Okay. And as you know, we got it
yeah,
done. We have saved Right to Try. They've been trying to get this done for 58
yeah.
years. And it sounds simple, but it wasn't because, the insurance companies, nobody wanted it, but we got it done.
Sure.
You sign a document that you're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country, you're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done. And we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to Try. Hopefully you never need it. But if you
Yeah.
do, you don't have to travel to Asia. People,
Right.
if they had money, they go to
Yeah.
Asia, they go
Sure.
to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened. They'd go home and
Yeah.
die.
These are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to restore both the perception and reality of respect in the judicial system. Stop the lawfare. And I think that's like, and how are those even right wing positions? I think those are that's just common sense, and that's I mean, would you agree with that?
100%.
If you look at my record, I've actually been. I'm not like some sort of try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping with the environment, and and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed in the wool long term Republican. I call myself uh, historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, and uh, I think a lot of people thought the Biden administration would be a moderate administration, but it's not, and obviously we're just going to see an even further left uh, administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. I mean, she was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. That's, you can Google it. I mean, it's not a. We're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous, and I think we're just at this critical juncture, and I think this is a case of the America is kind of at a fork in the road, and
It's true.
and I think it will take if the path to, like you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself. And but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before, and I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left, and so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say I think you should support um, Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
I
I
want to
think.
congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I can talk about
Well,
rockets and
it's kind of you to say. Thank
well
you.
tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now you're into the AI, and that's going to be another beauty, I'll say. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I
Well,
congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And well, I mean, I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again. And we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again because this is so much more important than me or my life. We're going to save this country. This country is going down.